After the age of 55, something begins happening inside the legs of millions of older adults across the United States, Canada, and Europe. Something so subtle, so slow, and so silent that most people never notice it until the symptoms become impossible to ignore. Their steps grow less confident. Their knees feel weaker during simple movements. Their balance suddenly feels uncertain on stairs. Rising from a chair requires more effort than it used to. Walking long distances becomes tiring in a way they never expected. And many seniors assume it's simply age catching up to them. But age is not the villain here. Something else, something fixable, is happening inside the muscles and nerves of the legs. A quiet deficiency is taking root. A deficiency that doctors hardly ever test for in older adults. A deficiency that weakens muscles, slows nerve signals, reduces balance, increases fall risk, and slowly steals strength from the calves, thighs, and hips. A deficiency so widespread among people over 55 that some researchers call it the hidden epidemic of aging. Yet the tragedy is that most seniors never hear about it until it has already damaged their mobility. This video is about that deficiency. The one responsible for leg weakness, chronic fatigue, wobbliness, poor balance, nighttime leg pain, and loss of muscle despite walking or exercising. A deficiency that affects over 40% of people above 55 and nearly 70% of adults over 70. Here's the shocking part. You can walk daily, eat well, stay active, and still suffer from this deficiency. Because your body gradually loses the ability to absorb this critical vitamin with age, even if you eat the right foods. But before we reveal the deficiency, we need to understand why so many seniors experience the same pattern of symptoms. For most people, it starts with a small, almost unnoticeable shift. They climb a flight of stairs and feel a burning sensation in the thighs that never existed in their younger years. They stand up from a couch and feel a strange weakness in their knees. They carry groceries and realize their legs tire out faster than their arms. They walk across a parking lot and feel as if their legs are not responding the way they used to. These early signs often appear in the mid-50s, but become much more obvious after 60. Take the example of Richard, a 62-year-old from Ohio. He walked every morning, maintained a healthy weight, and considered himself strong. But he started noticing that his legs felt unusually tired halfway through his routine. He blamed it on lack of sleep, colder weather, or just getting older. But when his legs began trembling when stepping off a curb, he finally visited his doctor. After multiple tests, nothing showed up: blood pressure fine, cholesterol fine, heart strong. His doctor simply told him, "That's aging," but that answer didn't sit right with him. And it shouldn't sit right with you. Something deeper was happening. Or consider Marlene, a 70-year-old grandmother from Florida who loved gardening. Over the span of a year, she went from kneeling easily in her garden to struggling just to stand up afterward. She noticed her calves tightening at night, her thighs burning easily when walking uphill, and her balance becoming shaky on uneven ground. She worried she was losing strength permanently. But when she finally learned about the deficiency quietly affecting millions of seniors, everything made sense. And then there's Henrik, a 68-year-old from Denmark. He had always been physically active, cycling, walking, and swimming. But after retirement, he developed strange leg tingling, foot numbness, and sudden weakness that made him feel as if his legs were giving out unexpectedly. Multiple doctors told him he had mild neuropathy, but no one could explain the cause. It wasn't until a specialist checked his vitamin levels that the truth finally appeared, and within weeks of addressing the deficiency, he felt the strength returning to his legs. These stories are not rare. They're happening everywhere. In the US and Canada, across Europe. Quiet cases of leg weakness that doctors mistakenly label as age-related decline. But the truth is different. This is not normal aging. This is not simple muscle loss. This is not due to laziness or inactivity. This is a vitamin deficiency that directly affects your leg muscles and the nerves that control them. A deficiency that starves the muscles of oxygen. A deficiency that slows the brain-to-leg communication signals. A deficiency that causes the body to misfire, shake, weaken, or collapse under pressure. A deficiency that increases fall risk dramatically, especially after 55. And the most shocking part: most seniors have no idea they're deficient because the symptoms mimic aging. Doctors rarely test for it unless you specifically ask. And the foods that once supplied enough of this vitamin no longer meet your needs because your digestive absorption drops with every passing decade. This deficiency affects your balance, your walking speed, your leg strength, your nerve function, your energy, your circulation, your muscle repair, and your ability to prevent falls. But before the reveal, let's go deeper into what this deficiency actually does inside your body. After 55, your stomach begins producing lower levels of a chemical required to absorb this vitamin. Without this absorption, your leg muscles start weakening slowly the first few years. Then, aggressively after 60, your nerves begin losing their protective coating, leading to tingling, numbness, and delayed reaction time. Your muscles become starved for oxygen, causing burning, fatigue, and heaviness even during simple activities. If you've ever experienced wobbly legs, numbness in the feet, sudden weakness, burning or vibrating sensations, difficulty standing after sitting, slow walking, poor balance, tight caves, this deficiency is not exotic, it is not rare. It is one of the most common deficiencies in seniors worldwide. And here is the hardest truth: this deficiency is responsible for more preventable mobility loss in seniors than almost any other nutrient. In a moment, I will reveal the name of the vitamin and why the deficiency becomes almost unavoidable after 55. But first, you must understand what happens inside your muscles and nerves when this nutrient drops. Because once you understand the mechanism, everything else begins to make sense, and you'll finally understand why your legs have been changing. When people over 55 begin feeling their legs weaken, most assume the problem is happening inside the muscles. They think their quads are fading, their calves are shrinking, or their knees are wearing down. And while those things may play a role, the truth is far more interesting. The weakness begins long before the muscles ever fail. It begins inside the nerves and the blood that feeds those muscles. And that is why this deficiency is so dangerous, because it doesn't just weaken one part of the leg. It weakens the entire system that allows your legs to function. The first thing this deficiency attacks is the nerves that carry messages from the brain to the legs. These nerves require the vitamin to maintain their protective coating. Without it, the coating thins, frays, and begins to malfunction. The signals travel slower, the impulses become jittery. The brain sends the message, lift your foot, but the message arrives late or incomplete. To the senior experiencing it, this feels like clumsiness, slow reaction time, or legs that simply don't cooperate the way they used to. They don't know a deficiency is causing the delay. They think they're losing coordination. But what they're really losing is nerve integrity. This is exactly what happened to Eleanor, a 73-year-old retired librarian from Maine. She told her doctor that her legs felt disconnected, as if they were responding a second too late. She tripped more frequently. She walked slower. She felt unsure on curbs. Her doctor told her to use a cane, but the real issue had nothing to do with balance. It was the deficiency quietly eroding the insulation on her nerves, causing misfires with every step she took. When she finally corrected the deficiency, she said something remarkable. "It felt like my legs remembered me again." Another devastating effect of this deficiency is its impact on oxygen delivery to muscle tissue. Muscles do not get weaker simply because they age. They get weaker when they cannot receive the oxygen required to contract properly. This vitamin plays a direct role in the formation of healthy red blood cells. When levels drop, the red blood cells become deformed, enlarged, and less efficient at transporting oxygen. The result is a silent suffocation of the muscles, a slow, starving process that seniors feel as burning thighs, heavy calves, and exhaustion during simple activities. This happened to Paul, a 66-year-old man from Arizona who had always hiked the trails near his home. Over the course of a year, he noticed he could no longer walk uphill without stopping to catch his breath. His legs burned intensely. His doctor checked his heart. It was fine. Checked his lungs, also fine. What no one checked was the vitamin responsible for oxygen transport. When Paul finally learned about the deficiency, He realized it explained everything: his fatigue, his heavy legs, his sudden loss of strength. The moment he raised his vitamin levels, he felt his endurance return as if someone had lifted a weight off his legs. Another hidden impact of this deficiency lies in the loss of muscle tissue itself, a condition known as sarcopenia. Many seniors believe muscle loss is unavoidable after 55. That is not true, at least not to the degree most people experience it. Muscle loss accelerates when the body cannot repair muscle fibers. This vitamin is essential for DNA synthesis and proper cell reproduction. Without it, muscle repair slows dramatically. Micro tears from walking, lifting, or even standing do not recover fully. Slowly, week by week, month by month, the legs lose muscle mass. The thighs shrink, the calves lose shape. The hips weaken. It's not aging, it's inadequate cellular repair. That is exactly what happened to Nadia, a 59-year-old woman from France who prided herself on staying active. After retirement, she began noticing that her thighs looked softer, her legs felt less firm, and she lost strength despite walking daily. Her doctor told her it was normal aging, but her instincts told her something else was wrong. When she finally got her levels tested, her deficiency was severe. Within months of correcting it, she regained firmness in her legs she thought she had lost forever. One of the most frightening effects of this deficiency is how it damages balance and reflexes. People rarely think about how much the legs rely on nerve communication. Every step requires hundreds of microsignals firing through the feet, calves, knees, and hips. But when the deficiency weakens the nerves, the signals blur. Seniors start feeling unsteady when stepping onto uneven surfaces. They hesitate before climbing stairs. They grip handrails more tightly than before. They avoid walking in dim lighting. And many of them don't understand why. They only know they feel vulnerable. This is what happened to Henry, a 72-year-old from Michigan. A strong, capable man all his life, he suddenly found himself grabbing walls, furniture, or whatever was nearby to steady himself. He assumed it was vertigo or blood pressure, but it was neither. The deficiency had weakened the nerves in his feet so severely that he could no longer feel the ground with the same precision. After addressing the deficiency, his confidence and his stability returned. The deficiency also impacts muscle contraction speed, which is critical for preventing falls. In young adults, when the foot catches on something, a rug, a step, a curb, the leg reacts instantly. But in seniors with this deficiency, the reaction is delayed by milliseconds. To a younger adult, that delay means nothing. To a senior, it can mean the difference between catching themselves and falling. Studies show that older adults with this deficiency have a dramatically higher risk of falls, even when they appear strong. And then there is the issue of nighttime leg pain, something millions of seniors experience. Burning sensations, tingling feet, electric shocks, a buzzing feeling in the calves. Many seniors think it's neuropathy or circulation alone, but this deficiency directly affects the nerves responsible for sensation. When those nerves misfire during the night, seniors wake up confused, frightened, or in pain. Once the deficiency is corrected, many of those symptoms fade. This is what happened to Daryl, a 67-year-old from Texas who spent 3 years believing he had diabetic neuropathy, even though he wasn't diabetic. His feet burned, his calves tingled. His nights were restless, and yet blood sugar wasn't the culprit. The deficiency was. When his levels improved, he said, "It was like someone turned off the electricity in my legs." But perhaps the most misunderstood consequence of this deficiency is how it affects mental energy, which directly controls physical energy. Seniors with low levels often feel mentally foggy, slow, unfocused, or fatigued, not realizing that the same deficiency weakening their legs is also reducing oxygen to their brain. When the brain feels tired, the legs feel tired. When the brain lacks clarity, balance suffers. When the brain is underoxygenated, reaction time slows. It is all connected. In fact, mobility decline in seniors is often not a leg problem at all. It is a neurological and metabolic problem caused by a vitamin that has been quietly slipping out of their system for years. This is why correcting the deficiency feels so miraculous to people. The legs feel lighter, the feet feel warmer, the balance improves, The steps feel stronger, the fatigue lifts. The confidence returns because you are not just feeding your muscles, you are restoring your nerves, your oxygen supply, and your entire neuromuscular system. But now you must understand one more thing, the most important part of all, why this deficiency becomes almost unavoidable after 55, even if you eat foods rich in this vitamin. To understand that, we must go inside the stomach, the bloodstream, and the aging digestive system, because your body changes in ways that make the deficiency almost guaranteed. The deficiency destroying leg strength after 55. The deficiency that weakens nerves, slows reaction time, steals balance, reduces muscle repair, and silently increases fall risk. Is vitamin B12? This is not a rare nutrient. This is not exotic. This is not something only athletes need. Vitamin B12 is the foundation of nerve health, muscle strength, oxygen delivery, and neurological stability, and yet millions of seniors lose their ability to absorb it long before they ever realize they are deficient. The shocking truth is that B12 deficiency is not caused by a lack of B12 in food. Most seniors eat enough B12-rich foods: eggs, fish, poultry, dairy, even fortified cereals. The problem is not supply. The problem is absorption, and absorption collapses with age. This collapse begins quietly in the stomach. To absorb B12, your body needs a special protein, a carrying molecule, called intrinsic factor. It is produced by the stomach lining, but after 55, these cells begin shrinking. They produce less stomach acid. They produce less intrinsic factor. And without intrinsic factor, the B12 in your food slides straight through your digestive system unused, unabsorbed, unconverted. It doesn't matter if you double your intake. Without intrinsic factor, B12 slips past you like water through fingers. This is why so many seniors become deficient even when they eat well. This is exactly what happened to Maria, a 64-year-old from California. She loved seafood, eggs, yogurt, all high B12 foods. But she still developed leg weakness, numb feet, and terrible balance issues. When the specialist checked her levels, her B12 was dangerously low. She said, "How is that possible? I eat healthy." But it wasn't about her food. It was about her stomach no longer being able to extract the vitamin from that food. The moment she corrected her levels, her legs felt steadier than they had in years. Another reason seniors lose B12 is because of medications. Heartburn medications, proton pump inhibitors, metformin for diabetes, antidepressants, and even some blood pressure drugs reduce stomach acid, which is essential for releasing B12 from food. Millions of Americans over 55 take these medications daily, unknowingly shutting down their B12 absorption. Their nerves begin to malfunction, their legs weaken, their balance deteriorates, and they think it is aging, when in fact it is nutritional starvation caused by side effects. This exact scenario happened to Linda, a 72-year-old from Colorado. She had been taking acid reflux medication for nearly a decade. Slowly, she developed burning feet, numb toes, and trembling calves. Her doctor blamed neuropathy. But when a new neurologist checked her B12 levels, the deficiency was severe. Once the deficiency was corrected, her neuropathy nearly disappeared. It wasn't neuropathy at all, it was B12 starvation. There is also another hidden factor, pernicious anemia, a condition where the immune system destroys intrinsic factor. Many seniors have it without ever being diagnosed. It causes constant fatigue, weak legs, foggy thinking, pale skin, and breathlessness, symptoms often mistaken for aging or heart problems. But the most universal cause of B12 deficiency is simply the aging digestive system. As people get older, the stomach becomes less acidic. But B12 requires strong stomach acid to detach from protein in food. Without this acidity, B12 remains trapped. The body cannot free it. The intestines cannot absorb it. It passes through the system unused. This is why even seniors who eat healthy still struggle with weakness, tingling, slow reaction time, and poor balance. Let us go deeper into what B12 actually does inside your body so you understand why its absence is so devastating. B12 builds myelin, the protective coating around your nerves. Without it, the nerves begin misfiring, slowing, or sending incomplete signals to the legs. This causes delayed reaction time, poor coordination, numbing sensations, burning sensations, or the classic feeling that your legs aren't listening to your brain. B12 is also required to make red blood cells. Without adequate B12, red blood cells become large, weak, and unable to carry enough oxygen. Oxygen is the fuel that powers your muscles. Without it, your legs feel heavy, shaky, or exhausted during simple activities. This explains why so many seniors say, "I walk every day, but my legs still feel weak. I feel tired after climbing a few steps. My legs burn even when I'm not doing much." It's not a muscle issue, it's an oxygen issue. And oxygen decline is one of the earliest signs of B12 deficiency. B12 also regulates homocysteine, a chemical that becomes toxic at high levels. Elevated homocysteine stiffens arteries, restricts circulation, and increases inflammation in the nerves. Seniors with high homocysteine experience leg heaviness, cold feet, poor endurance, and nerve pain, all of which disappear when B12 levels are restored. One of the most chilling aspects of B12 deficiency is how slowly it develops. It can take years, even a decade, before symptoms become noticeable. During that time, the nerves deteriorate quietly. The muscles weaken quietly, the balance declines quietly. By the time the symptoms are clear, the deficiency is often severe. This is why so many seniors fail to connect their leg weakness to a vitamin issue. The decline is slow, invisible, and silent. Take George, a 58-year-old from New York. He thought his leg weakness was due to being out of shape, but he exercised daily and the weakness got worse. He cut calories. He pushed harder, his legs only felt more unstable. When his doctor finally tested his B12, the results shocked him. His deficiency had been developing for over 5 years, unnoticed. Within 2 months of restoring his B12, he felt his strength returning like a reawakening. Another reason seniors become deficient is poor absorption from the small intestine, especially if they've had gut issues, stomach surgery, or long-term inflammation. The lining of the small intestine is where B12 finally enters the bloodstream, but conditions like IBS, celiac, Crohn's, or simply decades of mild inflammation can severely limit absorption. This was the case for Angela, a 61-year-old from London. After years of digestive discomfort, she slowly developed leg pain, numbness, and weakness. She thought it was arthritis. It wasn't. It was B12 deficiency caused by poor intestinal absorption. When she corrected the deficiency, her leg pain faded dramatically. And there is one more factor, one of the most important. Most seniors depend on food alone for their B12, but after 55, food-based B12 becomes unreliable because the stomach and intestines cannot extract enough of it. The body simply cannot pull the vitamin out of the food anymore. This means seniors can be eating the right foods and still starving their nerves. Nothing could be more frustrating or more fixable. Once seniors understand that the issue is absorption, not diet, everything becomes clear. The mysterious leg weakness, the hesitancy on stairs, the burning feet, the poor balance, the sudden fatigue, the trembling muscles, the slow walking, the constant fear of falling. All of it can be explained by a deficiency that is nearly impossible to avoid after 55, unless you know how to correct it directly. B12 deficiency is not a small problem. It is one of the leading causes of preventable mobility loss in older adults. And the tragedy is that so many seniors go untreated, misdiagnosed, or dismissed as just aging. But the good news is simple and powerful. B12 deficiency is one of the easiest conditions to fix, once you know how. In the next part, we will reveal how seniors can restore their B12 levels safely, naturally, and effectively, and how to feel leg strength returning in as little as 2 to 3 weeks. Once seniors finally learn that the weakness in their legs isn't just aging, once they understand that the burning, numbness, trembling, and slow walking comes from a vitamin deficiency quietly draining their strength, everything changes. Because the moment you identify the real cause, you gain something far more powerful than a diagnosis. You gain control. And control is the beginning of healing. Vitamin B12 deficiency is terrifying because of what it does to the nerves and muscles, but the beautiful truth is that it is also one of the most reversible conditions in senior health. Unlike many age-related issues, B12 deficiency responds quickly, predictably, and dramatically when corrected properly. Seniors who have struggled with wobbly legs for years often describe their recovery as if someone turned the power back on. But restoring B12 is not as simple as eating more B12-rich foods. If that worked, millions of older adults would not be deficient in the first place. The problem is absorption, the body's inability to pull B12 from food after age 55. That means the solution must bypass the failing stomach and deliver B12 in a way the body can use immediately. The most effective way to restore B12 is by using forms that do not rely on stomach acid or intrinsic factor, the compound that disappears with age. When seniors switch to these forms, the results can feel almost miraculous. This is why neurologists, geriatric specialists, and mobility experts worldwide agree, correcting B12 is the fastest path to restoring leg strength, balance, nerve health, and mobility. Let's begin with the form that has transformed the lives of countless seniors, methylcobalamin, a highly absorbable version of B12 that dissolves directly into the bloodstream through the tissues under the tongue. This sublingual route bypasses the stomach completely. Seniors do not need strong stomach acid. They do not need intrinsic factor. They do not need perfect digestion. The vitamin absorbs directly into the bloodstream, where it can immediately repair nerves, strengthen red blood cells, and restore energy flow to the legs. This is exactly how Ben, a 71-year-old from Oregon, regained his mobility. He had spent 2 years struggling with trembling thighs and burning calves. He tried yoga, stretching, ice packs, and even physical therapy, but nothing helped. After learning about B12 deficiency, he began taking methylcobalamin daily. Within 3 weeks, the trembling eased. Within 6 weeks, he felt stronger on stairs. Within 3 months, he was walking long distances again. His doctor told him his recovery was uncommon. But Ben later realized something important. It wasn't T uncommon. It was simply uncommon for someone to finally receive the right information. Another highly effective method is B12 injections, which doctors often prescribe for severe deficiencies or long-term absorption issues. These injections deliver B12 directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the digestive system entirely. Seniors who use injections often experience rapid improvements: warmer feet, faster walking speed, stronger muscle contractions, better balance, and reduced nerve pain. Some describe it as feeling younger from the inside out. This is what happened to Rosa, a 69-year-old from Lisbon. She had developed such intense numbness and burning in her feet that walking became painful. Her doctors initially blamed neuropathy from aging, but after discovering extremely low B12 levels, she began weekly injections. Within weeks, she felt sensations returning to her feet. The burning faded. Her steps felt more stable. She told her family, "I thought this was the beginning of losing my independence. But it was the beginning of getting it back." But the most encouraging part of all is this. The legs respond quickly to B12 restoration because the nerves and muscles have been starved, not destroyed. When you feed them again, they awaken. The muscles begin contracting with more strength. The nerves start firing clean, accurate signals. The red blood cells deliver oxygen with greater efficiency. The balance centers in the legs become sharper. The fatigue lifts, the heaviness disappears, the trembling quiets down. Seniors often say they feel reconnected to their legs, as if the communication lines between the brain and the muscles suddenly opened again. That is exactly what B12 does. It restores electrical conductivity, the very essence of movement. But restoring B12 does more than repair muscles and nerves. It stabilizes the entire metabolic system that controls energy, mood, memory, and mobility. Many seniors notice that as their B12 improves, they feel mentally sharper, their mood improves, their stamina increases, their walking endurance grows. Everything in the body works better when the nerves are properly fed. Of course, the recovery process depends on consistency. One of the most heartbreaking things seniors experience is temporary improvement followed by relapse because they stopped their B12 routine too early. Nerves heal slowly, like roots regrowing underground. Muscle fibers repair themselves gradually, inch by inch. That means B12 must be taken consistently, not for days but for weeks and months, until the body rebuilds what it has lost. This is what Harriet, a 74-year-old from North Carolina, learned the hard way. After beginning B12 supplements, she felt so much better within a month that she stopped taking them. 2 months later, the numbness in her feet returned stronger than before. Her doctor explained that she needed to continue supplementation because her stomach could no longer absorb B12 naturally. When she restarted and remained consistent, her symptoms faded again, this time permanently. Another essential part of restoring B12 levels is addressing the underlying causes that led to the deficiency. Seniors who take acid reflux medications may need to adjust their dosage or timing with a doctor's guidance. Those on metformin, a common diabetes medication, may require ongoing B12 supplementation to prevent long-term nerve damage. And seniors with digestive conditions may need higher or more frequent doses. But even with these challenges, the body responds beautifully once it finally receives the vitamin it has been missing for years. What makes B12 restoration so powerful is that it improves multiple systems at the same time. When B12 rises, leg strength increases, balance improves, pain decreases, endurance rises, energy returns, clarity sharpens, confidence grows. This domino effect transforms not just mobility, but quality of life, because mobility is everything. Mobility is independence, mobility is freedom, mobility is dignity. Mobility is the difference between thriving and merely surviving. This is why understanding B12 deficiency is so important for seniors. It is not about taking a vitamin. It is about restoring the foundation of movement. When seniors learn this truth, when they finally understand why their legs have been failing them, they feel both relief and hope. Relief because they now know the cause. Hope because the cause can be fixed. Most seniors feel early improvements in just 2 to 4 weeks. The deeper nerve healing continues for months, but the early results, lighter legs, steadier steps, warmer feet, often appear quickly. In the next section, we'll explore how to maintain strong B12 levels long-term, how to prevent future deficiency, and how to combine B12 restoration with simple habits that supercharge leg strength even further.